All right, thank you for being there all the time. Daybreak Show, Rock City 101.9 FM in the city of Abeokuta. This is the voice of the people. Citizens Forum this morning. Yes, we'll be going again around the country on some national topical issues. Dele Ayodo is my name.
And I'm Tobi Joseph. Like I mentioned earlier, we're looking at the state of the nation, especially as it regards the security situation, which has culminated into the quelling of ethnic agitations in the country, especially that which is getting almost out of hand in the southeast. Before now, you would recall that Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the IPOB, Indigenous People of Biafra, was arrested, incarcerated, and there was a back and forth trial at the courts. But eventually, his bail was granted, released, and then it appeared, and some have said that he has flouted his bail conditions, mobilizing even more than ever. And as the army has alleged, launched a Biafra secret service, a national guard, and that actually is in violation of the sovereignty of the nation. So that was the launch of Operation Python Dance, and that led to soldiers invading the streets of Aba and Umuahia, and that led to skirmishes, injuries, and of course death. What exactly should we do to actually make sure that the country remains indivisible, indissoluble, and at the same time we bring everyone on board together so that there will be reconciliation, genuine and true reconciliation that will make the project Nigeria work? Well, as we speak, Nnamdi Kanu is nowhere to be found. The exact location we don't know, but at the same time, the governors of the southeast have prescribed the particular what do you call it now? Is it a group? Is it whatever you want to call IPOB? It means different things to different people, but it has been prescribed. They are banning all the activities of the group in the southeast and of course across the country. But it goes beyond that, especially as we're moving towards the election year. 2019 is on the lips of so many politicians, and we are starting the elections, governorship elections in Anambra State in just a month.
So 2018, is it? Is it this year? Yeah. Okay, November.
November.
Yeah. Okay. So election in the southeast actually
Yeah, in
begins
yes,
in 2017, not even
so just a
2019,
month
because
time,
yes, there'll be election.
elections.
Yeah, like you said, the IPOB has now been tagged a terrorist group. You know what that means across the globe. Once it be tagged a terrorist group, and typical of our national issues, there are different positions to the propriety or otherwise of that, whether it was right to target as a terrorist group. And some people have also said this is a wrong step. Different positions will continue to be placed on the table by Nigeria. Those who believed the military option is a wrong one. Dialogue should be used. The stick and carrot option should also be used. But whatever the options are, it is important that there is peace in our land. I say this to people, Toby, you don't have to agree. When people say unity not negotiable, I don't think so. It is peace that is not negotiable. We can decide not to be united in different form, but living in peace, that is what I think is not negotiable, and that is what the federal government, the Nigerian military, is also looking at. So, beyond politics, that is what the issue is. Beyond security, that is what it is. It is more in the national interest, and that's the angle we'll be looking at it this morning. We've been trying, we'll continue to do. Hopefully, we'll be lucky before the end of the program to get people in the southeast. We have two people that will interest you if we eventually get them. Yes, I don't want to introduce them now, but if you get them, sure you want to listen to them. But in the meantime, we have somebody, an analyst, who is capable and qualified to also look at it. Well, again, we said uh, it's in different form. To some people, there's politics. To some people, there is the usual ethnic coloration. To some people, it is mere criminality or militancy. So we are looking at it holistically, so to say. Sina Kawonise, former Commissioner for Information here in Ogun State, journalist, columnist, is our guest. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Well, Sina Kawonise, you're welcome once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tobi.
Well, let's quickly launch into it. But first, let's start from your own understanding and analysis of what Nnamdi Kanu stands for, not only as a man, but as a leader, and what his group, IPOB, stands for.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the matter is very clear, according to Nnamdi Kanu. Secession. We want our own country. Biafra. What Ojukwu fought for was defeated in the First Republic is what they are bringing back. And it is not just even, it's not the first time. In modern times, MASOB, we had MASOB, actualization movement for the actualization of sovereign state of Biafra, to now have indigenous people of Biafra. So what they are asking for is not restructuring. They are saying we want a country of our own. And the route to do that is that, okay, we want the Nigerian state to conduct a referendum in the southeast. Of course, that is not in the constitution. The constitution does not permit any referendum. But you see, it is not the first time that we are having this separatist movement or agitation in the people in the world. Is happening as we speak in Spain, in Catalonia. It is not in the constitution, but Catalans are saying, come October 1st, we are going to have a referendum. So it is not a new thing, in Morocco, had it in in Sudan, later now that now became South Sudan, it's Somaliland, in Eritrea, so many places. So that is what Nnamdi Kanu, as we all know, he is fighting for.
Do you think he has the moral right and standing to actually lead this charge, going by the fact that late Dome Ojukwu, who was a war veteran, who was a soldier, led the same cause and was defeated roundly?
That may just be the reason why he's now saying that, this time around you are not going to defeat us. Because once I have not justified, it's not my own position, but from history, we have the benefit of history. Once people feel that they are being shortchanged in a particular arrangement, whether it is in marriage, your wife may say, okay, I just want to go my own way, I want to divorce. So that tendency is always there. It's not a moral issue. It's just, a human condition that once you have or you perceive injustice, inequity, unfairness, imbalance, the tendency is that, okay, let us correct this thing. And if you think that, some people will think that, this thing cannot just be corrected, let us just go our different ways, So I think we really cannot adjudge him on moral grounds, because to an oppressed person, it is a moral thing for him to fight for his own liberation. Now that's at the level, that's at the philosophical level, without being specific about about IPOB.
Nnamdi Kanu, 1,000 times, million times, I said it is Biafra and secession that he wants and nothing else. Defy dialogue, defy any meetings. Unlike it was Rike Maso, he says it's actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra. If you look at these two positions, let's look at secession. Can you secede from a state without carrying the gun?
Oh yeah, we've had so many breakaways.
Because unlike Maso said, actualization, you can actually actualize the sovereign state from so many dimensions.
They are saying the same thing. It's sovereign. Sovereign says that is a country of our own. That is what sovereignty
is.
Saying
the same thing, but the machinery they want to use, the approach.
Yeah, I've not seen anything substantially different or fundamentally different between the two. There was a time Uwazuruke Raf was the reigning champion in the southeast, until somehow it fizzled out, and then now they emerged. So I don't see anything. So I mean, but to your first question, that okay, can you break away peacefully? We've had, so many examples in the world. Czechoslovakia, they broke away. They parted peacefully. In Soviet Union, they didn't have to fire a single shot, and they divided into 13 sovereign states. With glasnost and perestroika under Gorbachev, which Boris Yeltsin now actualized. So we've had so many cases like that. Of course, usually in more cases than than you have the peaceful, usually it eventually involves the force of arm. Why? Because nation states usually don't take kindly to any secessionist pressure. They want to say, oh, no, we have to keep the country together. It's usually the case. So once the peaceful options, agitations fail, then people resort to
The other question is this: many top Nigerians, particularly those of us who are outside the Southeast region, will normally want to avoid this. Should Biafra be? Should the Southeast be let off?
There's a United Nations charter that says that.
No, let's look at it as Nigerian now.
Yes,
not
we are not existing. We are not existing in isolation. The right to determine under which government you want to be and under which territory, I think it's a fundamental issue, fundamental human rights issue. And it has been settled all over. What people, the world will now always ask you this: how do you go about it? And that is why the issue of referendum now is embedded in so many constitutions around the world. That gives the people who feel to change in any particular arrangement to say that, okay, we don't want to belong to this, and you cannot force them. If you force them, it will only be a temporary thing. And then the 2014 National Conference report also recognizes the issue of referendum. They are recommending that referendum should be there for states that want to join together. If they can muster 75%, let them come together. If you want to break away, but you need 75% vote of those living in that particular territory. So it has become now a settled issue that, look, if people should be able to decide where and how they want to be governed.
Now, the other side of the question is this: the Southeast. Again, from those of us who are not there, do you think it would be a thing of advantage for them to break away? Have they really thought of it that, yes, this is the best thing that we need?
Now, when we talk of advantage,
is it different from their right or whether, but do you think it's a right decision they are taking?
Yeah, now,
or IPOB is taking?
Now, sir, when you talk of advantage, the tendency we always make is we want to focus only strictly on the economic side of it. Psychologically, even when you are not eating, the issue of your freedom may take precedence above even your own economic well-being. It gets to a point that when some people, when they feel so oppressed, that they even, why do people commit suicide? Why do people will leave family and go and do suicide bombing? That means that there are certain values that are transcendental to human beings that we cannot reduce to economic issues and all of that. But then again, if you are looking at it in terms of the economy and all of that, the fact that they say they are breaking away does not take anything away from the economic activities in other parts of Nigeria. If, for instance, hypothetically speaking, if Biafra becomes a sovereign state and is recognized in the international system, they will become part of ECOWAS. And in ECOWAS, there is this protocol that allows free movement and all of that. It will threaten the economic interest everywhere they are, as long as they abide by the laws of their host communities. So in terms of the economy, I do not have the figures, but I happen to know that human beings, in terms of what gives them fulfillment and all of that, goes beyond economic issues. It is very vital, but just the thought of it, just the psychology of it, that look, I have my freedom and all of that. And that is why you see children, they will leave the mansion of their parents and go and take a room and a parlor just because they want to be on their own. And they will feel satisfied and fulfilled for doing that.
Now, SK,
Yes,
let us look at the way the government of the day has handled this whole crisis at the issue, from the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu, the shutdown of Biafra, his long incarceration, and then eventually when the Mr. President was away, the Vice President was acting as President, and then we all know, or some of us know, how the bill was arranged, so to speak, and then he was released. How do you assess how the government of the day has handled this whole crisis?
I don't think the Buhari administration has handled it, properly. Let us go back to the time of Obasanjo, when President Obasanjo was there, and this issue of Sharia sprang up in the north. And let me tell you, the threat that Sharia posed to the country, in my own estimation, was far, far more, serious than whatever IPOB, poses in the southeast of Nigeria. How did President Obasanjo handle it? He said, this thing is political Sharia, it will fizzle out. And it did fizzle out. Now, arresting Nnamdi Kanu in the first place was wrong-headed. That young man was just making this noise and all of this thing, and people were ignoring him and all of that. By arresting him, they made him a hero in the first instance. So many court rulings released him, the government refused to release him. He became a sort of Mandela. Being incarcerated, a freedom fighter in quotes, So, and then they released him. Even before he was released, many of these rallies in the southeast, you will see this, jackboot approach. Many of them will be killed, and we saw all of these things, in the social media, conventional media, and all of that, until Nnamdi Kanu was released. When Nnamdi Kanu was released, incidentally, our president was away on medical vacation. The acting president was there, and this young man organized so many rallies without a single incident. And then he was going there. All of a sudden, they now deployed this issue of Operation Python Dance 2, and tension arose. So I don't think the government, in my own opinion, I believe it should have been better handled. Ignore the young man, let him do all of it, because this thing will fizzle out in any case. And let me tell you, for two reasons. Now, when this northern youth issued this Igbo quit notice, it was a game changer. All of a sudden, those who had been explicitly and implicitly supporting Kanu suddenly realized that this thing will not be in our interest. This decision will not be in our interest, because as records have it, in Kanu alone, we have 3 million Igbos holding 300,000 business centers, shops, and all of, and what have you, in the southeast, and that is where they are. I've lived in north for some years. Anywhere you go, in most places, in most locations, in most communities, the chemist shop is owned by the Igbo. The market, they are the ones selling in wholesale rice and all of that. They are everywhere. They suddenly realize that this thing is not in our interest to say that we want to secede. Because if we seceded, then that means that we have to live where we are. So that pitted the Igbo economic establishment against Nnamdi Kanu. Number two, no election in the southeast, starting with a number election. That would have failed. Because by doing that, because if you say there will no election, politicians, somebody is there holding the reins of power. Political establishment. Some people want to be governor, so many of them, and you can be sure that they will mobilize in such a way that it will countermand what Nnamdi Kanu has said. And then it gets like somebody said, do issue an order that you cannot enforce. There was no way Nnamdi Kanu would have been able to enforce that.
No election
in Anambra. You can trust politicians. They have the masses now. They have the grassroots.
When
And this one
when
is
a
not,
sitting governor,
when there is a sitting governor, and then this is not a one-party man. A scenario. All the parties will mobilize, because the one that is trying to come in will mobilize his people to come and vote for him. The one that wants to retain the seat. So that way, this thing, once is order could not be effected, this thing will fizzle out. So by coming out with this, what President Obasanjo called this heavy boot approach, it's like they have lionized this young man. They are making him into an hero.
Yeah, but
and they are internationalizing even the dimension of it now, that my rights have been denied.
And that's the sentiment the Kano wants to work on, to get international support through this blackmailing. However, do you not think, from what you have said, that the federal government of Nigeria will have also failed in its responsibility to differentiate between a criminal or a criminal act and then your right for self-agitation? Because, for instance, you remember the Onitsha issue, when they stopped people coming in, stopped people from going to the market in Onitsha, and several other force. The last sit-at-home thing, that's the official report says, was effective because people were afraid, not because they want to comply, but because they were afraid of being molested by those who support him. So, will the federal government of Nigeria not be failing to differentiate, which is its duty, to save those who are not in support and just going out with their normal business?
Where the failure of the Nigerian state will have become very manifest is precisely in the scenario that you painted now. They said sit at home. Some people wanted to go out. It was the responsibility of the state to have ensured and created an enabling environment for people who wanted to go about their lawful businesses to be able to do so. How does the Nigerian state secure the environment during election? How do they secure the something? So that is precisely is the area of failure of the Nigerian state. But let me also tell you, sir, now this thing that we are talking about, categorizing this thing as terrorism, it is absolutely wrong-headed. Because look, now you said Nigerian state will be failing in its responsibility if the peace and stability of the country is being threatened. Correct. And nobody will disagree with that viewpoint. But the issue is this, sir. Now, Nnamdi Kanu has been having these rallies since he came out from prison, from detention. Not a single incident. They never killed anybody. Nobody was attacked. The security agencies will just be accompanying them, and everything will start, and it will end that way. Why is the Nigerian state now provoking all of this? Where is the violence that the Nigerian state?
It's the Nigerian state that all they do, because the army has said Kanu, IPOB has provoked the Nigerian army. So which of them? Is it the Nigerian state that is provoking IPOB, or IPOB that is provoking the Nigerian army? It is
presumptions on the part of Nigerian army to be talking the way they are talking. And it's very unfortunate that we have a civil democratic regime administration where you have military operation in 28 states. Is it a military regime that we are practicing? The constitution is very clear. Section 218 of the constitution is very clear on the roles of the armed forces.
Yeah, but do you think?
So what I'm saying,
don't you think it's the situation that demands for it? For instance, people, when you look at deploying, it's not just in the house. In Ikorodu, recently, we saw what happened when the Badu were going on. Arepo, we saw what happened as in the deployment of the Nigerian army. That's what I'm talking about.
How many people died during, or how many people were injured during all these rallies organized by Nnamdi Kanu when Buhari was away from the country? How many people? Not a single one. So what we are saying is this, sir. Now, because we have a very big problem in definition. When the president was away, the acting president said hate speech is now terrorism. Hate speech is a crime on its own. It has its own name. Terrorism has its own, is another category.
The dimension on its own.
And the law takes care of hate speech. Why are you saying hate speech is now terrorism. The same way the Nigerian military is presumptuously defining agitation, peaceful agitation, as terrorism. They said he has formed the vigilante service, secret service, and all of that. Where are the arms? If they said okay, if they have caught him with arms, that he will be charged under the law that prohibits illegal possession of arm. And if he's actually levying that arm against the Nigerian state, it becomes treason. So it is not terrorism. Why are we overstretching our definition? Just because we just want to call dog a bad name in order to hang it.
Okay, now one issue which I also want us to tie in this whole discussion is the fact that before now, just like when the whole Boko Haram started in the northeast, and some political gladiators felt they could use it as a political tool and weapon, to actually grab power. There are some political leaders or regional leaders in the southeast too who were given some subtle support to Nnamdi Kanu because of their own agitations for restructuring and this perceived marginalization. Do you think that argument has grown out of proportion now? Can Nnamdi Kanu and these leaders agree and settle for restructuring as against secession?
In real politics, as they say, the man that wants to eat the leg of the cow will be asking for the whole cow. His target is to get the leg of the arm of the cow. So now, to the southeast political establishment, Nnamdi Kanu, not just even the southeast establishment, even all those who are talking about restructuring in the southern Nigeria and in the middle belt, Nnamdi Kanu has done them a lot of favor. Because by taking the argument to the extreme, that in real politics will force the Nigerian state to the middle, which is what they are talking about. People are talking about in terms of restructuring. Because now, even when the president made that broadcast after he came back from London, he said, well, there are issues. For the first time, he acknowledged that there were issues. Abi? Yes. So, there were issues. So, at least, Nnamdi Kanu has helped to restructure, to refocus this thing by taking it to the extreme that, okay, we even want to break away. Now, Ohaneze Ndigbo has been saying that, look, yes, we are not for secession, but if you don't want us to go this side, let us restructure. Afenifere has been saying that, let us restructure. Why it is still possible, so that you will not push us to the extreme of demanding Oduduwa state. So in real politics and all of that, Nnamdi Kanu, has become a force that in fact is, setting the agenda, for the political reordering of Nigeria. So that's the way I see it. And of course, it is expedient for the political establishment led by the Ohaneze and of course those who are having the levers of state power in the southeast, to sort of look the other way. Why Kanu was saying this thing? Are you get what I'm saying now? But it got to a point that they said, okay, this guy is removing the rug under our feet. He's making us to become irrelevant. Is making us to become maybe second-rated in terms of political importance in this place. And they are saying, okay, let us rein him in. It's not as if somehow they do not appreciate what he's doing. And that's why they've been calling there, and they go to him, they could mostly, so to say, many of them will go in the night to go and visit him, because they know that he controls the youth. And of course, that is of great electoral value to them. So that's the way I see what is going on in that place. So he is taking the thing to the extreme that eventually will benefit the political establishment. But the way with this jackboot approach now, I'm not sure, whether this thing will not go out of hand.
Now that we've jumped into politics, let us really look at what is happening in the governing party.
Sorry, Tobi, before that, I still have a question on Kanu.
This is also on Kanu, Dele. Hold on. Now, the APC, before it came to power, came on the platform of change. That was the slogan. the issue of restructuring through federalism was on even before the APC came into power. The implementation of the National Conference report was also on the table. Tinubu, who is a leader of the APC, was against the National Conference, but was in support of federalism. But Buhari, who was the flag bearer, was never in support of this. Now, this situation of Nnamdi Kanu, the approach that the presidency is taking, and the voices coming from the southwest, like you said, the southern leaders also in Niger Delta, led by Chief Edwin Clark. You have the Kawonise Indigo. You find out, then you get to find out that the leader, Ashwaji Tinubu of the APC, is silent to all this, leaving the president and the party to to handle whatever problem they have on their hands. How do we resolve this eventually, or how can this affect the resolution of this crisis vis-a-vis the different interest groups in the southeast, south, and southwest getting this restructuring that they are pushing?
Now we are looking at this from the enclave, from the APC enclave.
Yes.
Don't forget that APC is like a conglomeration of different parties.
Yes.
The restructuring that we have in that constitution, I mean, that their manifesto, is the work of ACN. The ACN element in APC. It was the Southwest that was talking about restructuring. Now it has even become a national thing, but it was the Southwest that was most vociferous in terms of agitation for restructuring. Because in that APC, you had the CPC, the Buhari people there.
Yeah.
They, of course, we are not in for any restructuring. You have the NMPP, which is also a northern party. They are not in. They were not in for restructuring. You also have half of Abga in the southeast. Okorocha, somebody said Okoro Hausa. That one is even more pro-north than anything. He has never even supported the structuring. So that leaves us with only the ACN element in the structuring. That is why the party is sort of, it was because of the noise and the coming election that they are now saying, grudgingly saying, okay, let us even set up a committee to help us define what the structuring is about. The Tambua committee that is working on the structuring, you know, in APC. No. The one of APC is led by Al-Rufai. It is for the one for the northern governors and the traditional rulers that is led by Tambua. Now, it is this agitation that is now even forcing their hand to say, okay, let us look into this thing. You know. So, but for APC, what Tinubu is doing, you know, Tinubu is a very experienced politician. The presidency cannot be having one disposition, and Tinubu will now be saying, even if he has his opinion, it will be a private opinion for now, hoping that the party will see reason and do the needful concerning the structuring. So what we are seeing is what they call real politics. You know, it is not as if those who are close to Asiwaju, they will tell you. And in any case, if you even look at the body language, the last Yoruba summit that was held in Ibadan, his people were there. ARG, Afenifere Renewal Group, led by Wale Osun, they were there. The vice president sent special advisor there, Babafemi Ojudu, they were there. And many of the APC governors who are not there, they sent, all of them sent representatives there. You know, so you could see the, you know, it's becoming more and more manifest, the disposition of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu to this thing. So Asiwaju Bola Tinubu cannot be opposed, and it's not, I don't think it's opposed to restructuring. But what is happening now is a game of political survival. Let us even survive first, politically, you know.
Well, if you look at the statement moved from Asiwaju, he has never said he opposed restructuring. No. He opposed 2014 for his reasons. He gave out all those things, not
exactly
the restructuring. Let me take you back to Kanu, from where you are looking at situations, studying him. Will Nnamdi Kanu be fit for, or anybody who describe him as? Do you think, okay, let's say, do you think Nnamdi Kanu is real, as in what he's fighting for, or do you think he's just an opportunist who wants to catch on the fragile situation because he met it on ground in Nigeria?
To me, that guy is not real. You know, I've spoken about the principles of all of this thing generally. But when you look at Nnamdi Kanu, that guy cannot last as a leader. If you even look at his whole packaging and all of these things, that royal mien and all of that, there's no way for someone who is going to lead a mass movement. There is a way they comport themselves. It is even, I saw a video that some people were even lying down and was placing legs on them and all that. There is no way any leader will endure, will last in that style. So it's not real. And of course, when you look at him, it's not even ideologically clear. Abusing here, you know, cursing there, this one here, Nigerian zoo. He lacks the strategy. At a point, he was abusing the Yorubas. He was cursing Awolowo. He was saying any Igbo man that attends a Yoruba man's church is an imbecile, according to him, to the way he called it. And he wanted to say imbecile, and he said imbecile, and all of that. So I don't think it is. That is why it pains me that it is in Nigerian state. It is Buhari that is making this guy to be relevant. He has no capacity to sustain what is doing in all of that. He has no capacity, because what capacity does he have to take on the political establishment in the southeast? What capacity does he have to take on the business establishment in the south? In whose interest it is for them to continue to remain in Nigeria? So Nnamdi Kanu, I see him as an ephemeral hero, a transient hero. He's not going to last.
Do you think there is political hand in this? Is it because people have also alleged that he's been sponsored?
Even the Minister of Information
that he's been sponsored by some
I don't want us to be talking. Lai Mohammed is not a credible person. He still behaves. He's not a credible person because he still behaves as if he talks as if he's still in opposition. Now, what did he say? Well, I published a newspaper. I could not even put it in my newspaper. Because why? Because when you say it is corrupt people, looters that are saying, that is simplifying the issue. That is banalizing the issue. The issues are far, far more concrete than what Lai Mohammed is making it out to be. And that is why I said one of the worst appointments that Buhari made. You don't make somebody that has a reputation of being a liar to be your image maker. And that is what Lai Mohammed is doing.
So sorry, let's get it. When you say he's a liar, that must have been things to...
How did they call Lai Mohammed, my brother Ayodo? How did they call him?
No, that's a different thing. It's not that people...
It is not a different thing.
People sarcastically
or trying to say that because he was using propaganda.
Being a propagandist could also mean...
Okay, that looters, what has Luther got to do with the issue of... that was why when they said Oshiba, he quickly denied it, that he said, oh, no, he didn't say that those who are calling for restructuring are looking for jobs, who are political jobbers. This man spoke along that line. What has the issue of corruption and looting got to do with the structure of the federation? Can Lai Mohammed in good conscience say that this country is properly structured? And I can give you so many examples. Sokoto State used to be one state when Lagos State was one state with 20 local governments. Sokoto State divided into Niger State.
No.
Niger State, first Niger State in 1975. Later, they removed Kebbi State from it. Later, they removed Zamfara. All now having, more than 100 local governments. Lagos State still has 20 local governments written in the constitution as an axiom that cannot be broken. And somebody is saying that it is, an alliance of corrupt people that are talking about something. So it is corrupt. Adebanjo is corrupt. Edwin Clark is because of corruption that they are talking about this. Those who are talking about this, in the middle belt is because of corruption. That is simplifying it. That is the kind of thing that Lai Mohammed does that discredits this government. He shouldn't have spoken along that line. And that's the way he talks about, just talking as if without even reflecting.
Okay, now let us look at the issue of 2019. Of course, restructuring is now setting the tone for political debate for 2019. Atiku Abubakar, a serial contender and candidate.
Like Mohammed Buhari,
now Muhammadu Buhari, is seeking that particular position of president, and of course he has been moving around the country canvassing for restructuring, which is of course against the northern political establishment. He has rolled out his subtle campaign whatsoever with a minister of the present administration declaring support for his presidency. You have this in the APC. He has not moved out as it is, no matter the underground moves. The governors who are also calling for President Muhammadu Buhari, no matter the situation of his health, are also saying that he must be re-elected in 2019. If you put the issue of restructuring and these agitations side by side, the wranglings already on for 2019, and the either second term for Buhari or a new term, fresh term for a northern candidate, either Atiku or El-Rufai, what do you think 2019 portends for Nigeria?
Well, every election normally has its own central theme, its own central issue around which politicians will coalesce and then campaign. For 2019, it's certainly going to be restructuring. So fortunately, the economy has gone out of recession, 0.55 against 3.5% population growth. Poverty continues. That could also be maybe the second plan, but the major one. And Atiku has quickly, very smart, has quickly keyed into that. But quite a number of people see through all of that. Buhari, APC, keyed into anti-corruption. Are they fighting corruption now in any way, in any credible way? Is corruption just arresting members of the opposition? There are no corrupt people in APC when 60% of APC is even PDP, all of that. So now, the fact that Atiku is mouthing this, it is just a convenient thing to get people, especially in the South. But when you look at it, we have El-Rufai, Atiku, that you have always spoken, focus on APC. We have not talked about PDP and even the third force that is also emerging. Now, within APC, it's really going to be very interesting. In terms of the ticket, Buhari will get the ticket, no doubt. The party will do what they call
that is if himself he wants to recontest.
It does not,
because we are assuming now.
It does not. He will recontest.
No, we are assuming he may decide.
We have history. If that man is alive, as long as he has breath, he will contest. He will recontest.
But it's still an assumption.
An assumption based on history. It is usually not about you, Ayo, Dele, saying I don't want to do. What of the people surrounding around you? Who surround you? Who, as they say in Yoruba land, the Ikokobe depends on it.
All right, we have to take the break to allow the national news to come up. After that, we still have Sina Kawonise with us. And of course, yes, it's the Daybreak Show, Citizens Forum, Rock City 101.9 FM. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back. I must thank you for still being there listening to Rock City 101.9 FM's Daybreak Show, Citizens Forum this morning. We began with events in the southeast of Nigeria, Nnamdi Kanu being the arrowhead, and of course Nigeria's military's declaration of IPOB as a terrorist organization that has so many connections, including international recourse to that declaration. Of course, the whereabouts of Nnamdi Kanu, as we speak, is still unknown, and the military are still there in the southeast. Whether that is right or wrong, well, has continued to be a topic on the lips of Nigerians, and that's part of what we are looking at this morning on the Citizens Forum with our guest, journalist, former Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Ogun State, Sina Kawonise. Tobi, I think we should just let our audience, our listeners be a part of it.
Yeah, I think I have just two questions here. The one by Mr. Lakilani is asked me if the Southeast governors, had the right to declare, to prescribe the activities of IPOB. I think they do. They are the chief security officers of the district. So if they see any threat, they could say, okay, this threat is, what the one that I will contest is the military, categorizing what Nnamdi Kanu is doing as a terrorist group. Number one, I've said it here that it is even very wrong to categorize it as terrorism. Treason is treason. Hate speech is hate speech. Sedition is sedition. possession of illegal arms is possession of illegal arms, and they are all taken care of
Under
in
the
our
criminal code,
other criminal code and in the south, and then of course the penal code in the north. So, you know, for the military to be saying that, I don't think it belongs to them. If the Attorney General of the Federation were to come and say, okay, we have seen so, and we are now so declaring, because it is still it's along the same line. When the defense headquarters now said some time ago that they will be monitoring the internet to be looking for people engaging in hate speech. It is not, we are in a democracy. The Buhari administration is trying and has been militarizing the country, which is anti-democracy. It is not the military that should be saying that. If the Inspector General of Police were to come and say, okay, these people we have seen, this one, and maybe the president now issues an executive order saying that so is a terrorist organ. You don't need even the National Assembly to say that. The president can issue, not the military. We are not under a military administration.
All right, that's what you are contesting.
Oh, yes. Now, concerning Mr. Ikom, thank you very much, Mr. Ikom. What I've said generally is that everybody has a right to self-determination. I have my own opinion about Nnamdi Kanu, and it's not very salutary. Now, and of course, none of us, no question came whether about the demarcation of the Biafra land. It has not even come up here. That maybe we have said here, or I have said here, that Calabar should be included or South should be included. It's you are just also coming from your own bias and your own angst against Mr. Kawonise, who was Commissioner for Information in Ogun State. Yeah. Mr. Ikon, you are a very good customer here on here, and of course, you've had cause to tackle me on so many issues here whenever I came around here. So, we are not talking about, any geographical,
the map now.
With the map now, that has not even come up.
Act,
and we have spoken generally. If people in the Yoruba land say they want to go, they should look at it. And if a referendum is conducted and they say, okay, overwhelmingly, they have to, because you cannot stop it. Eventually it will happen. Once the thing is real. And that is why those who are actually want the unity of this country are saying that, look, a stitch in time saves 9. Do this restructuring. Otherwise, you are going to push people to the extreme. And that is exactly what this government, is disposed to now.
All right, let's quickly add the messages. This message from Rashid says, to me, Nnamdi Kanu is a criminal who must be dealt with. Thank God Nigeria is no longer the same, unlike the era of the GEJ-led PDP, where lawlessness and impunity was the order of the day. The era of Asari Dokubo and Co. will be threatening the government. We now have a government that could put things right. It's only a matter of time. No one can break this country. Alright, this one says, the failure of the Nigerian army to capture Kanu is worse than scorching a black snake in a dark night. Federal government of Nigeria should listen to Igbo elders, not politicians. That's Abubakar. IPOB, governance and political perspectives. Declaration of IPOB as terrorists and proscription are issues beyond the armed forces and southeastern states respectively. But for the federal government, implying IPOB cannot operate worldwide. Besides, political proclamation by the armed forces is undemocratic and unconstitutional with security implications. Indeed, all militants, divisive, and criminal groups and parties should be similarly proscribed. So Nnamdi Kanu was going around the world looking for guns to fight Nigeria and sneaked in under fake passports. Are you saying he should have been left alone? Nnamdi Kanu should not have been released in the first place. He should have also been rearrested for flouting his bail conditions long ago. I, however, disagree with Operation Python dance. 18 years democracy, and we are still using army for matters police should handle. Morally, Nnamdi Kanu has no right to ask for Biafra, as it's also using force to say Port Harcourt and Co. must be part of Biafra. Adekole tweeted this, tagging IPOB as a terrorist organization is too early. The issue should be settled amicably. We should remember what happened in Rwanda. Abe Fagwemi tweeted this, I grew up with the national anthem of Nigeria. All what we need is allow peace to reign. Professor Angola AA says APC-led government must do the needful to address all the agitations around the country for peace to reign. Lai Mohammed should please stop talking. So this one from Abubakar says, let's implement the 3 R's in the East as was promised after the war. Federal government of Nigeria should not lead us to another war because that will be the end of Nigeria. That's Abubakar. My name is Olamilekan from Abeokuta. I grew up in Anambra State and I'm still living there. What I want to say is frankly the truth that these so-called IPOB are not real. All right. The military have done a good job by declaring IPOB a terrorist group since they are recruiting army under the sovereignty of the Federal Republic. So how many IPOB members have been killed before Kanu fled? The grasses will suffer when two elephants fight. Kanu has committed an offense called treason, which is punishable by death, according to Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Mankot Bega Yusuf from Surulere Camp sent in that one. Ola VJ has given us the way out to this problem, and that is only by dialogue. Let us go for that if it is possible. IPOB has never taken arms against anybody. Make your findings. Dr. Uncom can't speak for Akwa Ibomites, and he has never done so. Let's remove hate and say the truth. Abubakar. IK from Info says, I'm an Igbo man. I come from the same Abia state, and I will never support Biafra. But the truth must be told. No matter the bitterness, one thing you have to know about Indigo is that we don't depend on government. So I don't know whether there is another Indigo which Kano is fighting for. If none, it means that he's making a lot of mistake because an Igbo man like me will not be part of Biafra. Did that one. Sina Kawonise, let us be sincere. Kanu and his people are being used. His excesses, effrontery, and act of insubordination must be curtailed. That's Omola Lutunde sending in that one. And this one says, my brother Tonkom should not forget that the whole of Old Cross River State fought for Biafra with Colonel F. Young and Okon Idem as leaders in the Biafra government. That's Abubakar sending that message. Well, as long as we drag our feet on restructuring, so long will there be agitations like that of IPOB. Thanks. Bankole Nimole from Ashero sent in that one. IK sent in this. Any Igbo man that support Biafra is a fool, so let Igbo be wise. But the unity of the country must be negotiable. Alright. Danabayo Mipawalola says, with the kind of weapons and aggressiveness of IPOB, Nigeria police can't handle it. It's only military that can match them fire for fire. Away from Nnamdi Kanu's shenanigans, I believe that we need more nations in Africa. Thus, I support any genuine self-determination. That's still Yemi Da Vinci. Unfortunately, a referendum is alien to our constitution. Emeka Ihedioha and Ike Kuremadu should have placed it in it. Abayomi once again says, how many policemen, civilians should be killed before military can be called in? We saw samples of what IPOB can do in River State. Those who are saying IPOB shouldn't be classified as terrorist group should ask IPOB victims if they were terrorized or not. Abe Fagbemi. Okay, we got a tweet. Yemi Da Vinci says, restructuring is not a silver bullet to end Nigeria's problems, but unless we do it, Nigeria will split violently. We need it now. Akrede Camille says there is nothing wrong that Kanu and his group are asking for Biafra, but what is wrong is the approach. Violence is not the best way. Dr. Kushimo says the only way to move forward sensibly is to shun sentiment and nepotism, then we can patriotically move on. Akrede Camille says military can intervene in case of civil unrest under democratic practice. Federal government can't fold arms when there is fire on the mountain. All right, I guess this is the much we can take as regards contributions. SK, let us have your reactions to this last set of contributions.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nigeria is a very interesting place, as Dele said in his opening remarks, that you always have multiplicity of opinions and all of that. That is why what makes Nigeria very interesting. Some will, go for what Obasanjo said, the heavy brute approach. Some will call for the conciliatory, approach and all of that. But I believe that the federal government should better manage what is going on, because an agitation, once it starts, it doesn't, end like that, except the underlying causes, are addressed. And it appears now that at least there's an emerging consensus, at least in the southern and the middle parts of Nigeria, that Nigeria needs restructuring. because these areas are the ones receiving the short end of the stick. So the earlier the federal government does something, and when we are talking of the federal government, it's not just the executive, we're also talking principally about the legislature. You sit down, let us negotiate and see how we can do this. By the time they do that, the likes of Nnamdi Kanu will have no oxygen, to breathe in this subversive thing that they are trying to do, But the general principle is that every people has got the right to self-determination. That is inviolable. I mean, inviolate. It is basic. Whether what Kano is doing, the way he's doing it, is right or not, is a matter of opinion. And I know that if it's properly handled, the matter will just fizzle away. There's no way that Nnamdi Kanu can emerge as an enduring leader. He doesn't have the qualities, he doesn't have the intellect, he doesn't have the disposition, the right disposition to do that. And the Nigerian state should not just now make him into a hero and lionize him. That is just my own position that I think the government needs to look into.
Okay, let's just take a call to round it up. Yes, the lucky person. Before I let me quickly find out what you think about this group of the Southeast leaders, the political leaders, and then the social cultural group. How have they behaved in this manner?
They've been ambivalent, as I said. They've been ambivalent because somehow even these governors, apart from Okuruta that has come out consistently against Nnamdi Kanu and his IPOB, and the same way he had, got a disposition opposed to Maso. All these other governors, they've been looking at Nnamdi Kanu in terms of his political value, his political use value. So they've been ambivalent. Both the social cultural, Ohaneze, you come out today, you can't mess up Nnamdi Kanu, let us listen to him, using him to negotiate, sort of, that if you don't accede to what we are talking about, you have Nnamdi Kanu to contend with. I think the disposition of the political elite there, and of course the social cultural, as well as even the economic elite who are scattered all over Nigeria, is ambivalent. They know that Nnamdi Kanu is also taking the matter to the extreme in order to push the Nigerian government to come to the center.
All right, I think it's been a good topic. It's been a good discussion all around from you at the other side, and of course from our guests. So we say thank you to all of you. Dele Ayodo is my name. I say God bless you all. God bless Nigeria, and God bless Rock City.
Thank you very much, Sina Kawonise. We appreciate you for honoring our invitation and make justice to the topic this morning.
My pleasure being here. I thank all the people that were here. I mean, our audience at home, all those who made contribution, asked the very informed questions. I appreciate all of you. God bless Nigeria.
That's our show this morning. Thank you so much for being part of it. God bless you. God bless Rock City FM. God bless Nigeria. I am Tobi Joseph. Have a wonderful day.